All right, James, this video is for you alone because this is the problems that you asked about. By the way, you had said that you only got 10 and 13 wrong, but I look back at your test, you got 10, 13, and 21 wrong. So you still have to do corrections on 21. Anyway, you said you couldn't do 10, you did it over and over again. I gave you the list of steps for what you have to do, and I asked you to try to do it on your own, but you seem to still be struggling. So again, here's the steps, and I'm going to do them one at a time. By the way, this is not problem number 10, but it's a problem like number 10, okay? Step 1, change all subtraction to addition by changing the number you subtract by to its opposite, which, by the way, when you go to high school next year, they will not tell you to do that, and you don't really have to do that, but I think you should do that because it's a way to guarantee not to make careless mistakes. And like I told you over and over again, 90 to 95% of mistakes people make are sign mistakes. So this becomes 2 plus a negative 2 times 3x plus a negative 1. And again, that's step 1. Change minus a positive 2 to plus a negative 2, minus a positive 1 to plus a negative 1. Step 2, get rid of parentheses by distributing. On this side, I have to distribute by 5. 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 4 is 20. So that's 10 times x plus 20. On this side, I have to distribute by a negative 2. A negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6x. And a negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 2. Now, step 3, combine like terms on the same side of the equation. I don't have like terms on this side. I do have like terms on this side. 2 and 2 is 4, so I get a negative 6 times x plus 4. Step 4, if you have variables on both sides, and you do, get rid of the smaller variable by adding its opposite to both sides. The smaller variable here is a negative 6x. Add a positive 6x to both sides. That will leave you with 16 times x plus 20 on this side. That will leave you with 4 on this side. Step 5, get rid of addition by adding the opposite to both sides. I'm adding a positive 20, so to get rid of it, I add a negative 20 on both sides. That leaves me with 16x equals a negative 16. And step 6, get rid of multiplication by dividing on each side. I divide by 16 on each side, and x equals a negative 1. By the way, you can go back and plug your answer in and make sure it comes out to be a true statement. But to be honest with you, I've seen a lot of you have more trouble making sure it's a true statement than solving it. But like I told you when I was corresponding with you back and forth, okay, if you take this one step at a time and follow those 6 steps, okay, and if you don't make a careless sign mistake, this is not that hard. You've been doing this since October. That's when we learned how to do this. It was on your midterm exam, it was on your third 9 weeks exam, and it's been on every test on review material you've taken. So you know how to do this. You're making some kind of careless mistake, and that's why I won't tell you the right answer, because I want you to go back and find out what you're doing wrong. Now, the next one that you had trouble with was problem number 13. Okay, and 13 was asking you to change a repeating decimal into a fraction. Now, you only learned this in January or February before the third 9 weeks. So it's been on like about 4 skills tests. It's been on like 2 tests on review material, and it was on your third 9 weeks exam. So you should know how to do this kind too. Again, I'm not going to do the one that I gave you, but I'll do one similar to it. Let's look at this one. If I wanted to change 0.83 with the 3 repeating into a fraction, the first thing I have to do is create a subtraction problem in order to get rid of what's repeating. Because as long as something's going forever, you can't make it a fraction. And the only way to get rid of 0.3 repeating is if you subtract 0.3 repeating minus 0.3 repeating forever. But you don't want to subtract 0.83 repeating minus 0.83 repeating, because that won't give you a fraction, that'll give you 0. So what we do is we adjust the problem. And on the top, I want to move the decimal to where it's directly behind what's repeating. So I want to move it from here to there. In order to move the decimal from here to there, I have to multiply by 10 to the second power, because for every power of 10 you multiply by, you move one place to the right, and I want to move 2 places to the right. So if I multiply 100 times this and move it 2 places to the right, it becomes 83.3 repeating. Now on the bottom, I want to move the decimal so that it's directly in front of what's repeating. It's already in front of what's repeating, but it's not directly what's in front of what's repeating, so I want to move it to there. And again, to move it to there, I have to multiply by 10 to the first power, which is 10, because I had to move it one place. And by the way, when I do move it one place, it becomes 8.3 with the 3 repeating. And again, the whole reason for doing this, the whole reason for creating this subtraction problem is so I could get 0.3 repeating minus 0.3 repeating canceling forever. By the way, that would give you 100 times 0.83 with the 3 repeating minus 10 times 0.83 with the 3 repeating. And 100 times minus 10 times leaves you with 90 times 0.83 with the 3 repeating. By the way, 83 minus 8 gives me 75, and again, the repeating 3's cancel. Now to solve this, you got to divide by 90 on both sides. That will leave you on this side with 0.83 with the 3 repeating, which is what I wanted to find, and it'll leave me with the fraction 75/90ths. But 75/90ths is wrong. You say, but it's a fraction. It is. It's wrong because it's not simplified. What goes in both 75 and 90? 5 does. 5 goes 5 times, and 5 goes 5 goes 3 times, and 5 goes 18 times. All right, I'm sorry, this is a 75. I thought that was 15. Knew it didn't go 3 times. 5 goes 15 times, and 5 goes 18 times. And again, what goes into 15 and 18? 3 does. 3 goes 5 times, 3 goes 6 times. So again, I did not do the problem that you asked, but I did a problem similar to the one that you asked. And again, to get the right answer, okay, you have to set up a subtraction problem. And in the subtraction problem, the key is this. On the top, you need whatever's repeating in front and behind the decimal. And on the bottom, you need what's repeating directly behind the decimal. And that way, you'll line up the decimal point where it'll cancel completely. And to move the decimal to where you need it, you need to multiply by a power of 10. And remember, for every power of 10 you multiply by, you move one place to the right. Since I had to move this 2 places to the right, I multiply by 10 to the second power, which is 100. Since I only had to move one place, I multiply by 10 to the first power, which is 10. The final problem, and again, I know you said that you didn't get 21 wrong. Maybe I made a mistake in the original thing I sent you, I don't know. But when I checked your test, you did get problem 21 wrong. And by the way, problem 21 was a mixed numeral times a decimal. I'm sorry, divided by a decimal. So again, I'm not going to do the problem number 21 for you, but I'll do a problem like it. Let's say I had 2 2/3 divided by 1 5/10. Now again, the first thing you have to make your mind up on is, what are you going to do? Are you going to deal with fractions, or are you going to deal with decimals? By the way, normally I would say that's totally up to you. Whichever you find easier, that's what you should do. But in this case, I don't think you have much of a choice, because if you make this into a decimal, it's repeating, and you can't divide into something that goes on forever. By the way, I personally like dividing fractions better than like dividing decimals anyway, because when you divide decimals, you don't know how many places you're going to have to go before you get a remainder of 0 or before it repeats. Whereas when you divide fractions, you will. But anyway, most of the time, if you'd rather work with decimals, go ahead and work with decimals. In this case, I didn't give you a problem that would help you to work with decimals. It would be better to make them both fractions. By the way, to make them both fractions, this is already a fraction, and this becomes 1 5/10, which reduces to 1/2. So now I have 2 2/3 divided by 1 1/2, make them improper. 6 2 is 8/3 divided by 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3/2. And again, bring down, flip around, 8/3 times 2/3 would become 2 times 8 is 16, 3 times 3 is 9. That's your answer, but it's improper. Divide 9 into 16, goes 1 time, remainder 7. So your right answer is 1 7/9. By the way, make sure that's simplified. All fractions need to be simplified. It is, so that's your answer. So again, James, I know you've been struggling with these corrections. I really think that you're struggling with them because you're not putting your mind totally into them. Because problem number 10, solving an equation with those 6 steps is something I know you know how to do because I've graded too many things where you got them right on. So you made a careless mistake somewhere, you got to go back and try to find it. Problem number 13, you knew how to do, but maybe you forgot, and I hope what I just showed you will refresh your memory and you'll be able to do it. Now, as far as problem 21 goes, again, you didn't think you got it wrong. Maybe I didn't tell you originally you got it wrong, but you did get it wrong. And now you have to go back and get it right. And again, you can't divide mixed numerals by decimals. You can only divide fractions by fractions or decimals by decimals. So somehow or another, you either have to make them both fractions or both decimals. So I hope this helped you, okay? And again, I know this is not the ideal situation, but I really, really want you to figure it out on your own. Good luck.